You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
The school board had a meeting with Bridget Ziegler there, and only 2 board members showed up. You were one of the ones that didn't show up to that meeting, and the sheriff and both of those chiefs sat there and said they never heard from the school board. Nobody reached out to them. Nobody's talking to them about what's going on.
4 candidates all vying for 1 chair in District 5 of the Sarasota School Board. Who will get the nod? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on the Sarasota School Board in a moment, but first, our top stories at 7. Could this week's shooting of a police officer in Fort Myers been prevented had the Sarasota man charged with the attempted murder been given the mental health treatment he asked for? Wisner Desmaret is charged with shooting a Fort Myers police officer just 48 hours after being released from jail in Sarasota. While in jail, Desmaret wrote a series of letters to a Sarasota County judge detailing his mental health issues, including paranoia, and asking for help. But experts deemed Desmaret competent to proceed, and he was released from jail. Dr. Eddie Renier calls the letter a cry for help.
The inmate tried to communicate their distress. They tried to tell people they weren't getting the help that they needed. And either the help was not available or no one cared enough to respond to it.
Dr. Renier says someone may be mentally ill but still competent to go to trial, which is what he believes happened in this case. Sarasota Sheriff's deputies are investigating an armed robbery at the BB&T Bank near the Target store on US 41. Witnesses say the robber showed a handgun while demanding cash before running away. He is described as a white male between 40 and 50 years old. He was last seen at around 1:30 this afternoon wearing a button-down shirt, jeans, and a cowboy hat. If you have any information, call the sheriff's office or Crime Stoppers. You might recall we did a show last month on the Governor Scott's efforts to ban colleges from having polling places where students can vote. Now a judge is ruling that unconstitutional, and some election supervisors are considering using on-campus early voting as early as November. The judge said the state's interpretation of the law lopsidedly impacts Florida's youngest voters, whose average turnout is much lower than older voters. Election supervisors have to finalize the list of early voting sites by Sunday for the August 28th primary elections, leaving little time to add on-campus sites by then. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan, and good evening, everyone. We're watching some showers. They're sporadic. They're scattered about. They're not all that intense. They're making their way in from the Gulf of Mexico. Occasionally one will pop up and move through and bring you a little bit of rainfall at times. One heading toward Venice right now. A line of showers out there, in fact, southwest of Venice, moving to the northeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Moving at a pretty good clip, so we don't expect a lot of heavy rain for a long period of time. But this one did produce a few lightning strikes just about a half hour ago. That has since moved on, the lightning. But the rain's still out there, and that rain is heading in toward Venice now, or at least north of that, near Nokomis. And then some showers up there along I-75 into Ellington, pushing toward the mall there along the 301 area, and it continues to move off toward Parrish in the next half hour or so. Elsewhere, some showers near Northport starting to pop up here and there. So that's what we're in for tonight. Periods of just scattered showers at times, randomly moving in from the Gulf of Mexico, and that will continue, I think, for the next couple of hours. Then we'll see some redevelopment tomorrow morning, right around sunrise and continuing throughout the morning. But they won't be like we're seeing here in the Atlantic. There'll be those hit or miss variety of light to moderate showers at times with an occasional thunderstorm here and there. Current conditions, we do have partly cloudy skies at the airport, and it has cooled a little bit. The heat index down to 92. That's a factor of the temperature and the humidity and how your body deals with that humidity. The ability to sweat is how we cool down. If it's really moist out, can't do that as readily, and so we stay a little bit warmer, and that's the reason why it feels like 92 degrees. Winds out of the south-southwest at 8. So we can expect a few morning showers along the coast. This evening, obviously scattered showers, and then a few storms on Friday, fewer storms on Friday, not as many. And then a return to those afternoon and evening variety of storms that move in from central Florida toward the west coast, which have a lot more lightning with them. That happens both on Saturday and on Sunday. We'll have much more, obviously, a little bit later. Alan?
The race for Sarasota County School Board is heating up tonight. We introduce you to the candidates from District 5, and this race is a crowded one. ABC7's Jess Dowdrick is here to introduce us to the candidates. Jess.
Alan, there are 4 candidates battling out for just 1 seat. And with open district school board elections, every voter in Sarasota County will be able to select one of these 4 candidates to represent them on the school board.
While Jane Goodwin is fighting to keep her seat on school board, 3 challengers are hoping to send her into retirement. Meet Rick Linden, Pamela Gavette, and Justin Cody Willis. Rick Linden has been a high school science teacher for the last 18 years. This past year, he taught chemistry at Venice High School. He also has 23 years of management experience. Linden decided to run for school board because he is dissatisfied with the current administration.
The current superintendent, Todd Bowden, I feel doesn't have the right priorities for his position. I don't think he really shows student education as his high priority.
And Linden says 3 of those members are constantly supporting him, including Goodwin.
And I think at least one of the 5 members of the school board should be a recent teacher. It just makes a huge difference on the way you view things.
School security is Linden's top priority. He does not support the district police force. Linden also is focused on the district's budget, bashing Bowden for spending millions on assistant principal salaries, updating the landings, and on a public relations firm.
I don't think any of those expenditures really are going to directly improve the education of our students.
Justin Cody Willis is a father of 5 and a business owner in Northport.
I look at the decisions that the board's making today, and I know that it affects my 5 kids. And when you look at the board, 3 of our board members haven't had children in the schools in quite a while. And it makes a difference when you're in the schools and you're actively participating.
Willis says he volunteers at schools in Northport, Englewood, and even Venice. If elected, he says his focus will be on school security.
But the first place you need to start out with school security is inside of your schools with the children suffering from mental health. We need to adjust our monies and actually dive in and get the school psychologists back inside of every single school.
Willis does not support a district police force and wants to see local law enforcement in schools.
It's really not necessary. We're not going to save a bunch of money. We're not talking about all the additional costs.
Meet Pamela Gavette. She's a 3rd-generation Sarasotan with children now in Sarasota schools. Her daughter being the reason she's running for school board. She wanted to pursue an associate's degree while in high school and was told no by the board.
And after attending several board meetings with her and her speaking during public comment, I realized that the current board did not have a diversity of thought. It was basically status quo.
Gavette also taught school for 10 years in Tampa. She says because Sarasota County Schools was on a hiring freeze, she now substitutes in Sarasota County.
As an elementary teacher, I'm concerned about the 14,000 students that are not demonstrating proficiency in reading in our district.
That, along with school safety and requiring transparency, are what Gavette considers her priorities.
I have been sitting on School Advisory Council for 10 years and asked for a simple accounting of our dollars, and I was told I don't need that. And I feel strongly that when voters ask for information, that should be given to them.
Incumbent Jane Goodwin has served on the Sarasota County School Board for the past 8 years. But she's been serving Sarasota since 1998 when she moved here.
I got involved with a group called Citizens for Better Schools, and we put a stakeholders committee together and did the first referendum for the extra funding that we just passed again this spring in 2002. So I have been involved in a leadership capacity on all 5 of the referendums that have passed.
Goodwin says she's proud of the funding that she helped the school district get. She's also proud of the funding she helped gather to open the 2nd Suncoast Polytechnical School in Northport. But she says she's not done yet, hence why she's seeking re-election.
In the last 3 years, the state has cut back $4 billion in our required local effort, our property tax funding.
Goodwin says you should vote for her.
Because of my experience, because of my passion, because of what I do in the community.
The election is on August 28th, and like I've said before, this is technically a nonpartisan race, and all candidates are registered as Republicans.
Jess, thank you. We'll hear from all 4 candidates in a moment at the Trapezoid.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers, but you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398. Or visit SoClean.com today.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with a family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, fishing, or biking and hiking. Or play the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy the flavors of the Black Belt. Book your adventure at our lodges or stay in the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama Black Belt adventure today.
We've all had a front row seat the last few months as the Sarasota School Board sometimes wrestled each other on how to best secure our schools. The Parkland massacre sent school boards throughout the state scrambling to make schools safer for students and teachers. But in Sarasota, that process devolved into nasty text messages and name-calling and derision. There are also some fundamental philosophical differences on the board, mostly between Democrats and Republicans, although technically this is a nonpartisan race. Tonight, the candidates in District 5 debate, and joining us is incumbent Jane Goodwin and challengers Pamela Gavette, Justin Willis, and by Skype, Rick Linton. And thank you all for joining us tonight. And we want to give you all an opportunity to basically state your case in terms of why you deserve to be on the Sarasota School Board. And we're going to start with the incumbent, Jane Goodwin.
Well, thank you, Alan, for having me here tonight. And I really think that for the last 8 years that I've been on the school board, I've done an exceptional job. I have a lot of institutional knowledge and many of the pieces that need to be in place in this district to continue the success that we have had. We've had a banner year in terms of the many things that we have been able to do in our leadership and in our school district. One is to raise our A grade by 4 points, and I think that I'm the best person to continue on the road to success and more successful students, which is all that I'm about, every student, every day.
Pamela?
Thank you so much for having us. I recognized that there is little diversity of thought on the Sarasota County School Board during some advocating with my daughter, who spoke during public comment, and I felt strongly that we needed to have the voice of a parent with children in public schools as well as a teacher. And as a result, have been looking at some data and am deeply concerned about the 14,000 students in Sarasota County that did not demonstrate proficiency in reading. And as we know, reading is a top priority if we're going to be improving our district grade.
All right, Justin?
Absolutely. I'm a dad of 5 kids, all in public schools here in Sarasota County. heavily involved within our school systems down in South County, and I realize that we have people making decisions for our kids that are affecting them that aren't walking this walk with us. So I hope to be a board member that's actually walking the walk with parents. As a dad of a bipolar child, mental health is something that I'm extremely focused on, and it's something that affects our life every single day. And my oldest son is an ESE student down at Cranberry Elementary School. So I just want to be a voice and actively involved as a parent on what's happening with our children.
Right. And Rick?
I've been a full-time science teacher in high schools for the last 18 years, and I feel strongly that the time is come for there to be some teacher perspective added on. At least one of the 5 members of the board should be a teacher. I feel it would have a major effect on many of the decisions that the board is asked to make. I personally disagree with the board's superintendent's direction at this point as far as dealing with school security, many spending priorities, and issues of teacher morale, and feel that I could make a big difference as an addition.
Okay, our conversation with the candidates for the District's 5 seat on the Sarasota School Board continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harris. Bob.
Well, if you haven't seen it, the red tide report has come in. The midweek report from the FWC, and it is showing less red tide north of Venice. You see all these spots here. We had some moderate categories, some low categories up here on Friday. Those have since moved away or gone away. And we're still showing up, though, high concentrations from about Venice southward through Charlotte Harbor. Although the ones in Lee County are also starting to be less and less as far as those reports go. So that's somewhat of a good sign, but it's still a bad sign is that we're getting 1 million cells per liter still near Venice and near Casperson. Now, as far as the Casey Key webcam goes, the good news on that front is that the wave heights are starting to weaken somewhat. The westerly flow is still there, but not nearly as strong as it has been, as the low pressure area over the Georgia border there continues to move away from us, and we're looking at the less of effect as far as rip currents go for beachgoers. That's a good sign, but showers are still out here, and we still have some energy in the atmosphere, a little trough of low pressure left behind line, if you will, right across parts of central Florida, bringing some moderate to heavy rainfall along I-75 near 275, the interchange there, southward down to near Ellington and the Ellington Malls there, but a little bit north of that, heading toward Parrish. And then you can see some activity moving into Nokomis and near Osprey and near the Oaks. We had some showers there periodically throughout the day, and not much else going on, though. And Anna Maria had a brief shower about an hour and a half ago, and there's one right there by Bayshore Gardens. So what we can expect tonight is a brief period of some moderate to heavy rainfall, not a lot of lightning. We're not anticipating much with that because the storms aren't all that intense. There are a few out there in the Gulf of Mexico that generate some lightning every once in a while, but as they've been approaching the coast, they have been kind of weakening on that front. But notice there's still quite a bit out here scattered about, and that's what we'll see overnight and tomorrow morning. Until we get rid of this westerly flow, which I think happens on late Friday afternoon and continues on into, looks like Saturday and Sunday, and even into next week as high pressure will build in from the southeast and give us more of a southeasterly wind flow on and through the weekend and beyond. And as far as the rain chances go, they'll lower a little bit on Friday down to about 30%. As far as the forecast goes for boating, winds will be out of the southwest tomorrow at 15 knots to start the day, subsiding to 5 to 10 in the afternoon, and just a moderate chop out there. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, the rain chance is still there at 30%. We'll see a few showers around. That could even be in the morning, but then we get back to those afternoon and evening variety of storms riding in through the weekend and the week beyond. Alan will be back right after this. Stick around.
The day you lose your strength is the day you lose your independence. Muscle is lost with age, affecting your energy, balance, and mobility. Before you know it, you're depending on others just to get through the day. But you can reverse and prevent muscle loss. Introducing MyoHealth, a revolutionary proven approach to increased muscle strength and function in as little as 30 days. Live life on your terms with more energy and confidence.
After a serious health issue put me down, MyoHealth's getting me back up again.
I'm doing activities that I haven't done for a long time. It really works. MyoHealth is a safe, natural dietary supplement, the result of decades of research and 24 human clinical studies. You can live stronger at any age with greater strength, mobility, balance, and energy. Call or go online now and take the MyoHealth 30-Day Strength Challenge.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A contract that weathered Tet. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes. He just assumed that they would have medication. He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Once you get atrial fibrillation, you need to have a very close relationship with your primary doctor. Prevention is the whole ball game here, because once you have a stroke, you can't undo it. A year without stroke is a year that you can enjoy doing the things that you've worked all your life to finally get to do. You took care of yourself. You did what is necessary for you to be around one more year. And then next year, we'll celebrate one more year without a stroke.
Welcome back. Round 2 of the Sarasota School Board debates. Tonight, the candidates in District 5, and joining us for more are incumbent Jane Goodwin and challengers Pamela Gavette, Justin Willis, and by Skype, Rick Linden. Elections or re-elections are about whether or not voters want to keep their incumbent or fire them. Jane, make your case in terms of why voters should rehire you.
Well, I've been a volunteer in the school district for over 20 years and worked diligently in leadership on all 5 of our referendums, one of which passed this year at 79%. That's made all the difference in the world to our community in having an operating budget that is fluid and flexible in those things that we need, like an expanded school day, which has given us a whole additional year of instruction for those students who go from K to 12 in our school district. I've also been involved in 3rd grade reading and looking at our students who are K-3 and can't read or having problems. The things that we have a problem with in our 1 and 2 performers, which are the low performers, are not just what happens in a reading test, because we know tests don't tell everything. It's what's happening in the dynamics of those families. And when I look at them, I see a lot of ELL, English language learners, which decreased or dipped a bit this past year, but I also see some students who are having emotional and special needs situations, disadvantaged families with ESE students, and we need to fix that. And I think some of the things that we're going to do this next year with our new component and budget for mental health will help. I'm concerned that this will only be 1 year, however.
Okay. Pamela, make the case. Why should voters fire Jane Goodwin?
Well, I really believe that the voters need to look at who brings the best advocacy for students. You know, it's a school board race, and not necessarily that Ms. Goodwin hasn't done a great job in the 8 years she's been here. It's just perhaps 8 is enough. And again, we see with our 3rd grade readers that that score continues sliding in the wrong direction. For example, last year we had 858 students that weren't proficient, and this year there were 1,056. And I believe that if that hasn't been accomplished with 8 years of service, then perhaps it's time for a new perspective. And what better perspective than having a parent who's had children in Sarasota County schools for 10 years I'm also a product of Sarasota County Schools, and I'm also an elementary teacher. I'm the only person running in this seat that has sat across from a student and taught them how to read.
Okay. Justin, why should Jane Goodwin be fired?
Well, I'll tell you why I should be hired instead. As a dad of 5 kids, I'm heavily involved in our schools. I've spent a lot of time actually sitting and helping with volunteering with the reading programs down in South County. I've grown up in Northport. I graduated from Northport High School. I'm a business owner in Northport. I'm investing in my community, and I'm helping be a voice for these parents where they need it at. I'm walking the walk with them, not just your smartest kids, not just the best kids, not just the worst kids, but I have 5 kids that range in very different areas, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in the music program, whether it's my daughter who is an extreme athlete, my daughter who suffers from bipolar disorder, my son who is an ESE student. I'm actually walking this walk with these parents.
Okay, and Rick, to you, should Jane be fired, or is this rather a case that you should be hired?
I guess a little of both. I would say up until the current superintendent assumed his role about 1.5 years ago, I think the board was probably considered to be doing a fine job. Since he's come on board, though, I think a lot of people in the district feel that things have made a change in direction and not for the good. For example, on the issues of school security, whether that's something that the district should be creating its own internal security force, as Todd Bowden, the superintendent, is advocating and the majority of the board has agreed with, or whether we should continue to rely on local law enforcement, which I feel has the expertise needed to handle this job. So things have changed in the last 1.5 years, and it's really because of that that I've decided to join this race.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation with the candidates for District 5 for the seat on the Sarasota School Board will continue right after this break.
Home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower,
at home,
help, I've fallen and I can't get up,
and on the go.
Help, I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TruStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs, stop the crimes.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. Round 2 of the Sarasota School Board debate. Tonight, the candidates in District 5. Joining us for more are incumbent Jane Goodwin and challengers Pamela Gavette, Justin Willis, and joining us by Skype is Rick Linden. We went through an interesting couple of months after the Parkland shooting in terms of how to best secure our schools. There were a range of options that were on the table, and I'm going to ask you some of the same questions we asked the other candidates running for the other seats. Up until now, Jane, there's been a split between the sheriff's office and the school board in terms of how to pay for school resource officers. I'm wondering what your view is in terms of the present, where it's now an 80-20 split, and some people are wondering, did the school board get rolled by the sheriff?
Well, I don't think so. And the school board has voted, and we are going forward with our policing entity. And I think that in the next year, will roll out our entire police force. I've spent some time with our new chief. He's being actually sworn in as we speak. And I think that he is going to do a remarkable job. He's hired 3 sergeants who are very able-bodied. One is a lawyer, one is a chief retired, and another is one of City of Sarasota finest retired officers. So I think we're on the right direction. We're going to do some very engaging things. I always say we're hardening the exterior of the buildings and we're softening the interior. These officers are going to be and play key roles in softening the interiors and making sure that they are the connective tissue between the students and our teachers and staff.
Rick, I take it from your earlier comments you would like to have seen the SRO program continue well after this year. So, will you have been satisfied with the school district taking on the lion's share of the cost of the SRO program, or is moving towards your own police force the best option?
I would have been fine with the school district taking on a greater share of the costs. To me, this is not a money issue. School security, you go to where you can get the best service. It's complicated running a security operation, and I don't believe the school district has the experience, definitely not the expertise to be doing that. It's not something they should have taken upon themselves. You contract with the experts, the pros, the people who've been doing it forever, and if it costs a little more, you find the money somewhere else. That's how I would have approached it.
Pamela, you've been watching the debate over the last couple of months. Do you agree with what the school board did?
No, I would have liked to have seen all of the options stay out on the table until we gathered more data and information to make more informed decisions. We currently don't have a full budget. We don't know what the plan is at this point. We have spent over $500,000 on shiny white new vehicles that have been wrapped, and we haven't hired everyone yet. Training is beginning. We have 1 month, less than a month before school starts to get that police force stood up.
Justin, what do you think what's happened in terms of the last few months in terms of how this all played out and how we're going forward?
I think we went way too quickly on it. I think that this was reactionary rather than preventative. I think if we're going to talk about what the real security issue is, we need to keep the sheriff in there. We need to keep our local law enforcement officers in there. Northport actually offered a solution up in March of 2017, and the school board shut them down on it. Said no thank you. They wanted to put an officer in every school, including the elementary schools, and Northport offered to do it at their own cost. We're all focused on security. We're all focused on providing the best security for these kids. But at the end of the day, if we're not tackling the mental health issues fully head on. Being proactive and getting school psychologists inside of these schools, it doesn't matter how many fences we put up or how many officers we have, we're not dealing with the true security issue.
One more quick question on this issue. One option at the state level would have been a guardian program where you train school employees to carry a weapon. Jane, your position on that?
My position is no on that, and of course many school districts have the same position. No, I don't want a teacher carrying a gun, and who else would there be in a school? A cafeteria worker, someone in the office, or a janitor, a custodial worker. There aren't people in the schools to do this, so I'm very much against that, and many school districts have not taken advantage of that program as well.
Justin?
I am very thankful that my 4th grade teacher was not carrying a gun. That's all I can say. Imagine the new security risk that we're causing. Mental health is not just something our children are dealing with, but we have teachers that are dealing with the same thing. Who's going to be vetting? Because when we set up the security, when we set up our own police force, we didn't contact the local sheriff's department. We didn't contact the local police departments and build out a plan using them. So I feel that we kind of rush into things trying to be reactive instead of looking at the bigger picture.
Rick, guardian program?
One, I would never carry a gun as a teacher in a school. I honestly wouldn't want other employees doing that as well. I think you're opening yourself up for many potential accidents happening, that many of which have happened in other school districts. It's not a cure for this problem.
Okay, Pamela.
It's my understanding that there are 21 districts that are utilizing the Guardian program, and I know our charter schools here in Sarasota are doing it so as well. And I, as an elementary teacher, would never feel comfortable personally, but I think there's a misunderstanding with that law. Teachers are actually excluded from carrying firearms. So this is about having other personnel on school campus that would be carrying. And like I said, I believe that all of the options should have been left on the table until we had more information, more data gathered to determine what was best.
Okay, Jane,
I would have liked us to have more time too, but we had our chair and others that were rushing us through this process, as you might remember from right after Parkland. But I would say we did not spend $500,000 on vehicles. We had other large box trucks and other things in that budget that you're adding in as well. So let's not confuse that issue. I think the Guardian program is something that our charter schools are doing. I would like to see us at some point in time offer the ability to cover with our police force our charter schools, because I know that they are concerned about doing this, but they have no other alternative. The sheriff was not willing to help them out.
Now, the question, how do we pay for all of this? Because obviously we're raising taxes locally to that was talked about before all this came to fruition. There is a certain amount of funding from the state here, but this was all...
It's one-year funding.
Right. And the thing is, the idea was to increase the amount of money that was spent on per pupil, but that's not really being done right now, is it, Pamela?
No, not at all. And my concern, being in education since 1992 in the state of Florida, is that the state gives, but they also take away. So we need to look at what that big picture is, and that's my initial comment, is that we don't have the plan in place, what this will look like long term.
Jane?
Well, I really think that we are doing a great job of putting this plan in place. We have hired and will have hired 24 officers for our elementary schools, most of them with better than 20 years experience in law enforcement. They're coming to us from all different states in the union with certifications already. So the training will take place, it will be rigorous, but the mental health component and the component that has them helping us front end as opposed to finding out later will hopefully make all the difference in the world in what we're doing. And we didn't have that in the contract with other law enforcement.
Again, Justin, the original idea was to increase the spending per pupil in Sarasota County. That's really not happened so much. So are you happy how all of this is being paid for?
No, I honestly think that it's crazy. I mean, we should have sat down with the sheriff and the local police departments before we ever even had this conversation. We should have came up with a plan.
We sat with them on numerous times. So here's the deal. Our funding has decreased.
But in it, you also have to realize the school board had a meeting with Bridget Ziegler there, and only 2 board members showed up. You were one of the ones that didn't show up to that meeting, and the sheriff and both of those chiefs sat there and said they never heard from the school board. Nobody reached out to them. Nobody's talking to them about what what's going on. So you may be being told that this is what's happening, but you know, the superintendent also said that he made an agreement with the sheriff long before he actually did. So maybe the issue is with the superintendent and some of the information that he's giving you guys.
Jane, I'm going to give you a chance to respond, and Rick, I promise I'm going to get your reaction in a moment.
Well, I really think that, you know, some people remember things differently than others. I know that we had, because I personally had a conversation with the sheriff, so I know that that happened. And nothing came up about the 50-50 split or the 80-20. I'm talking about the sheriff now. I have conversations with the superintendent almost every day. But what I will tell you is this: we're doing the best that we can for students. We want to keep them safe and secure. We will harden our buildings more so than almost any district in the state.
Okay, but Rick, let me get your take in terms of how we are paying for it, and are we spending enough money per pupil?
It really largely comes down to budget priorities. So I would acknowledge it probably would cost more money to use local law enforcement agencies to secure our schools as opposed to an internal security force. So where is the money going to come from? In looking back at some of the spending priorities of the current superintendent since he came into his job, he wanted to spend $500,000 initially on renovations to the school headquarters in Sarasota. He wanted to spend $225,000 over 2 years to hire a public relations firm to take on roles that previously had been done internally by staff. And he spent over $2 million in hiring new assistant principals within the district. None of those things, in my mind, have had a direct positive impact on our student education. And money spent in areas like that could definitely have been redirected towards school security.
We have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts when we return.
Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP is the largest locally owned CPAP supply company in the area. Is it time to replace your old equipment? The staff at Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP can show you the most up-to-date CPAP equipment and supplies to meet your sleep apnea needs, including portable travel devices and the SoClean automatic CPAP sanitizer. We serve all of Southwest Florida, giving the highest quality of care with the finest CPAP equipment. Please visit our website, sarasotacpap.com.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
How do you open tough jar lids? Do you try this one? Or this one? Or how about this one?
Honey?
This is the future. Shouldn't there be a robot for this by now? There is. Introducing RoboTwist, the robotic jar opener that easily twists off even the toughest lids. Just set it down, press the button, and watch it work. First, the RoboStrong vise locks down tight. Then the powerful twisting action unscrews the lid. RoboTwist is yours for the special introductory price of just $19.99. That's right, the robotic jar opener that easily twists off even the toughest lids. All for just $19.99. Whether the jar is big or small, RoboTwist can open them all. Supplies are limited, so don't delay. Here's how to get yours today.
Call 1-800-347-1073. That's 1-800-347-1073, or order online at buyrobotwist.com.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with the family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, canoeing, camping, and more. Or challenge yourself on Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy a Deep South dining experience. Book your adventure in one of our members' lodges or stay at the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama black belt adventure today.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Rick, we're going to give you a chance to close it out.
Okay. As I've said at the beginning, I feel like I'm somewhat unique in this race in having had the last 18 years of my life spent as a full-time high school science teacher. I think it gives a unique perspective that the board absolutely needs at this point. I've also made mention of the fact that I'm not in agreement with the current superintendent on many of his positions, including that of school security, spending priorities, and the growing issue as far as teacher morale is concerned, which we haven't talked about much, but is a definite issue. We've got some wonderful teachers in the district. The last thing we want to do is lose them out of frustration. But my sense is a growing number of teachers are very frustrated with the way the superintendent and the board have been moving. I would try to correct that.
Okay, Jane.
Well, I want to just thank you for having me here and say that, you know, we are working very, very hard, and my passion is students and student achievement. And I'm a former teacher, a grandparent of 2 children in this school district, and I think I do have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. There have been a lot of disagreements with the teachers union, which have stemmed some of these issues because they really don't like our superintendent. So it's really been a moratorium this summer on the superintendent and safety and security. So we will get through this, we will go forward, we will make changes, we will always do what's best, but we cannot forget the many wonderful things and bright things that we have done in the last year, which has shown great leadership from our superintendent and our school board, and the many accomplishments that we have made. Going up 4 points in an A is not a small issue.
Pamela, is the superintendent the biggest issue the school board has to deal with right now?
Well, perhaps his leadership, and like Mr. Linden stated, we have low teacher morale. There's a feeling of lack of leadership at the top, and a lot of frustration around that. Teachers feeling like their hands are tied and they're not able to actually teach in the classroom. The law enforcement issue, we should leave law enforcement to law enforcement and not be putting additional burdens onto those classroom teachers. However, the reading is my primary concern. It's those 14,000 out of almost 43,000 students that are not demonstrating proficiency in reading. That is my main focus. If we don't teach those students how to read, we find that they don't graduate from high school. They don't feel that they're capable of learning. They don't go on to get a college education. And then we see more crime in Sarasota County. And then we also keep the the cycle of poverty going.
And Justin, you get the last word.
Absolutely. Vote for the Data 5. I'm walking in your shoes on a daily basis. This is where it is a little bit different. When you have somebody who is owning a business in education, I'm a 12-year adult educator. I train nursing assistants throughout the county, and I've actually taught them throughout the state. Not only that, but I'm involved in these schools. I'm seeing what's happening, not only with my children, but with other people's kids. And it's time for us to put people on this board that truly are a part of what's happening in our traditional public schools. And we need to have somebody in there that gets what these families are going through. And mental health needs to be one of our primary conversations that we're having, because that solves a lot of the issues that we're dealing with. Hardening our schools is not the #1 answer. It's getting in control over some of these mental health issues that we're dealing with.
All right. We want to thank our guests, incumbent Jane Goodwin and challengers Pamela Gavette, Justin Willis, and by Skype, Rick Linden, for joining us tonight. When we return, our primetime headlines. But right now, let's get a final check on our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harris. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. Casey Key webcam. Well, we're watching showers developing in the Gulf of Mexico. Same old story, right? Showers continue on this westerly course. Once in a while, you'll see them pop up here and there as we go through time this evening, and expect that. A brief period of moderate to heavy rain at times. Not a lot of lightning. There hasn't been a lot because the storms really haven't been able to power up through some dry air. But there are a few storms out there in the Gulf that are popping up some lightning strikes every once in a while. Not a tremendous amount, but you can see right now, Inglewood, you're okay, but you could see a shower passing through here in the next hour or so as these storms are moving to the northeast at 10 to 15. They just kind of pop up and then go away, so they're not sticking around all that long either. And then some heavier rainfall over northern portions of Manatee County, now exiting into Hillsborough near Ruskin. A couple of lightning strikes there, so look out. Even though we're seeing this light rainfall, there's still a chance they could generate 1 or 2 lightning strikes before they pass off and into the northeast. Now you can see some light rain near Siesta Key, not to worry. It'll be over here in the next 5 minutes. And then you may get some more in about an hour from now as more showers try to develop in the Gulf of Mexico, associated with a little line of low pressure, if you will, right over central Florida. And that line stays here. This is the forecast. We take you through time. You'll see that line just hanging off into central Florida. On Thursday morning, a chance for a few morning showers. Although this model is depicting the rain a little bit further north, I still think we'll see a few down here during the mid-morning and late morning hours. And then in the afternoon, just like we're seeing today, a few evening showers are possible, but most of the heavy rain will be over by then. As we move into Friday, you'll start to see these clouds and showers moving off from the southeast to the northwest. That's the high pressure ridge, which will build in eventually, it looks like, on in through Saturday and Sunday, which will cause us to see those afternoon and evening storms returning. And that cools us down in the evening, right? We get rid of that west wind. We have an east wind at night. We see temperatures down into the mid-70s. It's really nice and comfortable. The high humidity goes away. That's what we're hoping for. And 87 degrees in the water temperature right now. It's the same temperature in Bradenton, Northport, and Sarasota. The wind flow will stay out of the west-southwest, and so that means more of the same, although not as strong as it has been. So rip current advisory is more than likely not a problem on for Thursday. So 40% chance for those morning showers scattered about, and even in the afternoon like we're seeing tonight in the evening. 30% chance on Friday. We start to transition on this day, and we get back to those afternoon and evening storms beginning on Saturday, continuing throughout midweek next week. That means a return to summer, and look out, the lightning will be back with a vengeance. Alan will be back in just a few minutes. Stick around.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398, or visit SoClean.com today.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
My name is Stephen Jaffe. The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling, and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Checking primetime headlines over to the White House, where President Trump sat with the head of the European Union to negotiate on trade. This comes amid growing global tensions over tariffs. The administration announced an emergency aid package for farmers impacted by the trade fight with China and other countries. ABC's Arlette Saenz has more from Washington.
A surprise announcement from President Trump and the head of the European Commission.
We had a big day.
The two leaders struck a deal in their trade showdown.
We agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. The European Union is going to start almost immediately to buy a lot of soybeans.
As he met with the EU leader, the president took on another trade fight rival, China. The president tweeting, "China is targeting our farmers, who they know I love and respect. They are being vicious." Farmers like Richard Schlossberg, who grows soybeans in Pennsylvania, are already feeling the impact of retaliatory tariffs.
I understand why he's trying to do it, but it's affecting farmers in a negative way.
To lessen the burden, the Trump administration announced an emergency $12 billion bailout for farmers. The payments start in September, right before the midterm elections. That move sparked backlash on Capitol Hill, including with some in the president's own party.
I think it's the wrong approach to be looking at tariffs and government bailouts. What Texas farmers and ranchers need is we need markets opened up. We need expanded trade.
The president's top economic advisor defended the bailout on CBS, but also admitted he's not pleased.
No one is thrilled with subsidies. I get that, including myself. On the other hand, we need a backstop for our patriotic farmers who have been hurt.
There are still many questions about that bailout, like how the payments will be calculated and how they'll be dispersed. Arlette Saenz, ABC News, Washington.
And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a good night.